think the hard part is how do you work that out in an interview? We can all say, okay, well, we want someone who's an underdog, but what questions can we ask, and what do we need to do to really uncover that? Because I think every single person who's hired people has made mistakes where you hire them, you go, oh, they've interviewed really well. Any half decent salesperson should be able to sell themselves in an interview. So how do you get deeper? And so I think the key is to, whatever your business values or culture is, clearly define, first of all, what that is. Like, what is that culture? What do we want in the people that join? What are the character traits that we want in people that are coming on board?
Yes.
Define that first. Secondly, what questions can we ask in the interview process to really extract that out, right? That somebody can't just talk their way out of, particularly when you're interviewing salespeople. And I think that's the hard part. But if you do the work in clearly mapping out what is our culture and what do we need people to fit, then secondly, what are the questions we need to ask to uncover that? Then you set yourselves in a great position. And I think that's the first thing. The second thing is have the discipline to say no. There's a lot of times where you interview people that have great sales skills, great track record, but you just know that's not a culture fit. And particularly if you're trying to push for numbers, it's very easy to go, let's give them a shot. But you always find it, I always find that when you do that, you always end up going, damn, I knew that wasn't going to work out. And I think it's having that discipline to say no, particularly in the early stages, if you're in a startup environment, having the discipline to say no, because if you make the wrong hire, as we all know, it's significantly more costly down the line in terms of missed opportunities, disruption to the team, lost time, and making that good hire. So I think those are the three key things: is define your culture clearly, the traits that you want, list out some questions that will extract that from people, and stay true to it, and be disciplined enough to say no if somebody doesn't quite fit.
I love that. The point around asking those right questions to determine culture fit, I think that's a challenge that a lot of our viewers and listeners, struggle with.
Yeah.
Something that I have found really useful is getting away from, these closed-ended questions like, are you competitive? Do you have drive? And more around, hey, tell me about a time when you were up against an incumbent for a job, and you were able to close that deal. Can you tell me about a time where you had that situation, and what exactly did you do to turn things around and win that deal? So asking them to kind of talk through a situation can really help give you some clues as to their real ability in a certain area. So I think that's so important.
It's the same in a sales pitch, right? You don't go to a client and go, do you need this product? You go, tell me about how you. It's the same thing, right? You got to ask those questions. And then one thing we look for is people that are constant learners, right? I mean, we need people on the team that are constantly trying to learn and develop, because that shows someone who's willing to listen, willing to take things on and improve, right? And for us, we ask questions like, a simple question like, given what you know today, what would you tell, your younger self, right, 10 years ago, right? Because I think in hearing how they respond to that will actually indicate whether there's someone who's able to think through their path and learn from what they've done right or done wrong, and actually take that on board and articulate that. So they have the right mentality to really think through, like, what have I done right? What could I improve on to give that advice back to my former self? So I think it's worth taking the time to ask to define those questions.
Oh, for sure. And I love a question, along those lines of, tell me about the last deal that you lost.
Yeah.
So tell me about the last deal that you lost. Upon reflection, why do you think you lost it? And what would you do differently if you had the chance?
Yeah. Yeah.
I love this question because, hey, I don't care how good you are out there. If you haven't lost a deal lately, you're not selling enough. Okay.
Yeah. Agree. Yeah.
Right. You're just not. So, we're all going to lose some deals, but, it's like you either win or you lose, or you win or you learn. Right.
Yeah,
so if we learned from it, we didn't really lose. So what did you learn from that experience? So I love asking people that question. Yeah. Another one of my favorite questions is I like to ask people, what's the last sales book you read?
Yes, we asked that one as well. Yeah.
What's the last podcast you listened to? What's the last YouTube video that you watched? Like, I don't care what's the last podcast you listened to? I don't care what the answer is. There needs to be a frickin' answer.
Yeah.
It can't be, oh, you know what? I'm not really into, learning new things.
Yeah, exactly.
Come on, it's going to bite you at the end. If you want to take your sales skills to the next level and learn how to master the entire sales process, join SoCo Academy and get certified in SoCo selling. The link is in the notes.